Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Welcome to my recap of 90 Day Fiancé Before the 90 Days, Season 5, Episode 3, First Dates and Second Thoughts. Merry Christmas, everybody, and a happy first day of Kwanzaa! If you're new to my channel, my name is Wah, and I do recaps of trashy relationship reality TV shows like Love After Lockup, Married at First Sight, and 90 Day Fiancé. If you're interested in hearing recaps of those shows, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get myself back into the YouTube algorithm so that we can get my funny message out to everyone. So if you would like to help out, don't forget to engage with the ads or watch them all the way through. And if you're feeling like giving a little tip, down below in the description box will be your options for Zelle, PayPal, Cash App, Venmo. You know, she's giving you all the options. First couple that we are going to talk about, Gino and Jasmine. We start off their segment where Jasmine and Gino are downstairs having dinner. So excited and nervous. Gino orders an American hamburger and Jasmine orders a veggie wrap, and you could already see the judgment all up in her face, especially in her fake eyes. Is that not familiar? Why do we have to show vegans and vegetarians on this show in such a negative light? Jasmine and Natalie give vegans a bad rap. Gino goes to take a bite of his American hamburger and he's like, my first Panamanian meal. You're not eating Panamanian food. You just ordered a hamburger with American cheese. So as they're eating dinner, Jasmine gets a bring on her phone and Gino's like, Paul, who's that? Jasmine gets over and goes over his shoulder. Let me show you, Paul is my friend Paulina. Basically, she wants to let Gino know that she's open about explaining who everybody is in her phones, and so should she. And so should he. Next, Jasmine grabs Gino's phone. Let's look through your phone, baby. Let's see. Oh, you have a Facebook request. Who is
that bitch?
Gino's like, I don't know who that is actually. And Jasmine's like, okay, well, let's delete her and block her. Once they're done with their meal, he asks about tipping. She says, no, don't tip. And he's like, in America, we tip. And Jasmine's like, well, that's the problem. Americans come here and they start tipping all of the servers, and then the servers expect us Panamanians to tip, and we don't have money for all of that. And then he's like, well, it's culturally, if you have good service, you're supposed to give 15%, or sometimes 20%, all the time 20%. All the time. And if you're having bad service, then just call for the manager and ask the manager to give you a new server. But don't not tip somebody because you've decided that their service wasn't up to par. They don't get paid anything hourly. They make money off of your tips. That's the way the service industry works, and I'm not going to argue with any Americans about it. So then Jasmine says, well, I think there's something between you and that waitress. And he's like, there's nothing between me and the waitress. I just want to give her a tip. And then in his confessional, he says, it's crazy that Jasmine feels that there's something between me and the server simply because I want to give her a tip. Jasmine takes a sip of wine, gaslights him, and says, you've ruined everything. When I tell you to do something, do it. They get up to the room. He doesn't know if he should take a little Viagra pill because he really wants to have sex. So he gets in the bed with his dirty ass clothes. And then she goes into the bathroom and comes out in a negligee because she's decided that she's done pouting and that she wants to get going on the right foot. And he sees her in her blue outfit, which is cute. And he's like, oh, you look great. So sexy. And then they get into the bed and he doesn't know what to do. It's awkward for her. It's awkward for him. It's hella awkward for us. Gino doesn't know what he should do. Charge his phone, take Viagra, take his shoes off, where to put his hands. He's just all over the place. And then Jasmine says, do you want me? And he says, yes, of course. Okay, the next couple that we are going to talk about, Alina and Caleb. So we start out their segment with Alina in the airport by herself waiting for Caleb. When Caleb finally sees Alina, he walks up to her, gets down on his haunches and said, oh, let's look at each other eye to eye. And Alina's like, eye to eye. And this is already off to a very awkward start. They have their first little confessional at the airport, and Caleb admits that Alina is smaller than he thought she would be. And she looks at him with all of her insecurities on her sleeves and in her eyes and says, oh, is that a bad thing? And he says, no, it's not bad. It's just different. I, for one, really think that Ethan should have stayed, and I think Alina's starting to realize that Ethan should have stayed as well, because Caleb is complaining about his arm hurting because he has to push her and he has to grab his luggage. Then she has to show him how to pack up her wheelchair and put it in the van. So by the time all of that happens, Caleb is a little worn out, and when they're in the car, he's not as cuddly with her. It's awkward for her because she wants more affection from him to kind of prove that her insecurities aren't actually coming to life, that he isn't there and now regretting his choice of entertaining a relationship with her. So they get to the hotel, and I'm not sure how long they're sitting in the cab, but Alina finally makes the first move to get out, and she's like, it's okay, I'll do it myself, I'll open the door. And then Caleb then reaches over awkwardly and holds the door for her as she like shimmies out of the van, and then he has to carry her wheelchair and his bags and sometimes her up the stairs into the lobby of the hotel. It's so funny because Caleb is like, oh, well, what can you carry? And she's like, my purse. Caleb, are you still fully not aware of the situation? Is your brain in a fog because you just got off a plane, a 30-hour flight? I get it. Now the hotel is beautiful, but he's realized that he's made a mistake and that he did not check to see if there was an elevator. And this is the first thing that pops into his mind, and he realizes that a lot of things that he normally does, it's gonna have to change when it comes to being in a relationship with Alina. They leave the wheelchair in the lobby. He carries her up the stairs like a knight in shining armor, and she loves it. They get to the room, and he's starting to realize again, the room is not disabled ready. She tells him that Ethan ended up staying in the room with her the first night, and he gets a little weird and jealous, like, oh, was he sleeping in my bed? And then he goes to look in the sheets. And listen, if I were him, I'd feel the same way, but I would also just have the service people come and change my bed. I'm not sleeping in a bed that someone else sweated in. Absolutely not. So all in all, I really do think that this is a bad/weird first impression for both parties. Caleb not being as cuddly and loving to Alina as she needs to make her feel secure, and Alina, I don't know, not anticipating the fact that Ethan should have been at the dang airport. I think that was a huge mistake. I also understand him not wanting to get cuddly wugsy with her as well. He's tired, and I hate to be on Caleb's side, but I am in this moment. So interesting that he was confused about there being no elevator. He was also saying that this is such a learning curve for him. And I thought to myself, wow, how self-absorbed must one be to not think of getting a place that has an elevator for someone who's in a wheelchair. He really just doesn't understand the scope of how much she can walk. Maybe it's because Alina has made it seem like, oh, sometimes I use a wheelchair. And maybe he thought, okay, that's when they go on extended walks and she's gonna need one. I don't think he realized how much she needs her wheelchair and how much support she needs just to get around every day. There was a comment made about her working the pedals while he steers a car, and I just thought of her being on the ground in the car. It didn't sit well with me. They also have this weird moment where they each talk about cuddling with friends, and Caleb brings it up because it feels like he's a little jealous of Ethan. I don't know what was going on, but it was weird. The next couple that we're going to talk about, Kimberly and Usman. So we've got Kimberly getting ready for Usman's arrival. So Kimberly has landed in Zanzibar, Tanzania, and she immediately leaves the airport with all her baggage, and this man runs up to her. We could already tell the producers got this guy together to get his cab all outfitted with cameras, and Kimberly is like, oh, hello, are you my driver? Are you a taxi driver? And he's like, yeah, of course, because he's like, what? I'm not going to pretend, oh, we're pretending I'm on TV. Okay, I'm supposed to pretend like some producer didn't just set up this car ride for you. Yeah, that's who I am. And so she's like, well, you know, I'm here by myself. Girl, why are you coming to a country and telling everybody that you're by yourself? That is not smart. As a solo dolo traveler, never tell anyone that you're by yourself. Always say that your friends are at your destination or they're on their way. And then she's like, you know, I was in the military, right? So I could take a man down all by myself. She was a secretary in the army. She went to Saudi Arabia during Desert Storm, and that was the first war I remember, so it has a special place in my heart. So you can touch me if you want to, is what she says, in a threatening manner, but also in a slightly desperate manner. You can touch me if you want to. We find out that once Kimberly gets to the hotel that she has ordered the lover's suite, the honeymoon suite, because she is planning on possibly having Usman in the room with her later on, and so why not get the best room available? The next morning after she's rested, she gets ready, she's got on a Sojaboy shirt. She gets him flowers and she gets into the cab and they're on their way back to the airport, and she asks the cabbie if it's weird that she's bringing a man flowers. And the cabbie says, yes. So she gets to the airport and she's super nervous to meet him. She's shaking, she's looking left, she's looking right, and then Usman finally appears. But before he appears, we have a scene with him and his friends. What's his name? Basman and Badman and Busman? Budman. And Slim T? Don't know. Anyway, so his homeboys are there with him and they refer to her as Kimberly Superfan. And Usman says, don't call her a superfan. So he says, let me have a moment with her by myself and then you guys come out. She hugs him and she's shaking and she's like, oh my God, we're about the same height. How do I look? Do I look the same? And he says, you look good. You look even better in person. And I was like, really? Huh. They sit down and they have a little conversation, and then his homeboys walk up, and the first thing that one of them does is say, hello, Kimberly, superfan. And she's like, don't call me a superfan. Hello, Slim Thug. Hello, Badman, whatever their names are. She's trying to be cordial and nice to them, but she puts her foot down, right? And she's like, don't call me that. And then they have a little confessional where I'm sure the producers are egging them on, and they're like, you know what, when you get into the cab, you should ask her, why doesn't she want to be called superfan? So they get into the cab and they're on their way. Slim Thug says, why don't you want to be called superfan? I mean, aren't you a superfan? And she's like, I am a fan, but I'm more than a fan, and we are talking about me potentially being his girlfriend. And they're like, potential, but you are a super fan and you invited yourself on this trip. And she's like, I didn't invite myself, he invited me. Well, that's not what I heard. I heard that he told you he was going and you said that you, and so she's like, look, I'm not gonna argue this with you. And then Sojaboy finally jumps up and says, look, no, okay? She is my guest here. I invited her. I don't need any of this. Stop arguing. And I was like, thank God. Thank God Usman finally jumped in and said something when he did, because she was trying to be as nice and cordial about the whole situation. I mean, really proving that she's not Lisa 100%, but they were taking it too far and doing too much. Sojaboy is a grown man who's put himself in this situation and they just need to ride with him. If they have a beef about their relationship, it's not on Kim, it's on Usman. So they get to his room and she then says, freshen up and come up to my room. I have a surprise for you. They both wear pink. He gets to her room and she has a couple of surprises for him. One, she has somehow still left the room in the same romantic way. I don't know how she slept on the bed, or if she carefully moved everything, slept in the bed and then put everything back. Maybe asked them to redo the room. I'm not sure how she got the room to be back to its romantic state, but it was. She has his gifts for him, which she's covered with a towel so that he could unveil them. A MacBook Pro, because he mentioned that his was broken, and a PS5. He's still like, thank you so much, Kimberly, but I'm still not going to spend the night here. I'm not comfortable. We're getting to know each other. And as far as I'm concerned, I feel like he's doing what he needs to do to manage her expectations. And she's the one that's not listening. She really has dipped into her savings in order to purchase this guy these items. I need a new MacBook Pro. He's just getting them for free because he told somebody that they could potentially be his girlfriend. Oh, lot of mercy. Almost potential girlfriend. And she really does feel like she's gonna wear him down by the end of this trip. And if he doesn't have an answer for her about whether or not they're gonna be in a relationship by the end of this trip, she's gonna be mad. The next couple that we're going to talk about is Mike and Ximena. So our first scene is Mike packing for his trip to Colombia and audibly telling us each thing he's adding to his bag. There is a little shot of a cat, and this cat is walking on some of the dirtiest carpet I've ever seen in my life. Here's the truth. If there are cameras in your home, clean your house. Okay? That's it. if there's no cameras in your home, be as dirty as you want to be. So Mike goes downstairs to talk to his grandfather and his father. He says to his grandfather, okay, I'm about to leave. The car service is almost here. And his grandfather says, huh? You're talking to me, Mike? Mike, don't go where you're not supposed to go. You know, this isn't New York City. You're in a foreign country. Then his father says, and what's the game plan afterwards? And he says, well, the game plan is to propose to her if everything goes okay and have her and her children come to the United States. And the father goes, how old are those kids? And Mike says, they're 3 and 7. And the dad's like, oh, well, it's not going to be quiet around here anymore. And I said, does Mike think that he's about to move Ximena and her 2 children in this house with these 3 men? What is she gonna do? Be their little maid? No. Next thing we have with Mike is he is landed in Pereira. I can't say it. And he is thinking that Ximena is going to pick him up for the airport, that she's going to meet him at baggage claim, but something must have happened, lost in translation, and she is not there. Then we have a flashback to 24 hours later, and we meet Ximena and her 2 children that are 9 and 3 years old. So he doesn't know how old her children are. And Ximena's like, I first thought she was a personal trainer because she's wearing a cute little outfit on her little cute body. And she's playing with her kids outside, and then she takes them to the park, and we get a little backstory about her and how she loves bad boys and the way that she conceived her 3-year-old, which is so interesting. Her first child was born due to a one-night stand. He's 9 years old and she's 24 years old. So that means that she was 15 when she had him or when she got pregnant. And so I'm like, a one-night stand? Girl, are you okay? 15-year-olds do they have one-night stands? Or I hope it wasn't a bad situation for her. Her 3-year-old, she fell deeply in love with the father, but the father wanted to go and help defend his uncle or something. And then he got put in jail. She wasn't pregnant, but then she got visitation rights to go and see this man, the man she loved. And she says that she just put her legs up in the air and got pregnant. So I guess she had a conjugal visit or maybe, I don't know, girl, but she had sex with that man while he was in prison and got his baby inside of her. And she was so happy about it. So I said, I see who Ximena is, and she's an interesting individual. That is a love after lockup situation. So she says that she's dated big guys, she's dated drug dealers, and so Mike isn't her type, but Mike has actually helped her a lot through the pandemic. He has purchased a couch, a refrigerator, a stove, a blender, all of the food and the rent for her. So he's like her knight in shining armor, and she really wants a better life for her and her kids. He's not my type. He's given me things. It's a trade-off. It's a blessing that I've been put in this situation, and so I'm going to take advantage of it. Her father comes over with his wife, who looks to be the same age, if not younger than Ximena, while she's practicing on her and doing her nails, because that's Ximena's passion, is to be a manicurist or a nail tech. And so the father has some concerns about this American and his nietos and how this American is going to treat his kids. And so they're just as skeptical of him as his family is of her. And I like that. I like the fact that both of the families are like, what are you guys doing? New couple alert. So the next couple that we're going to talk about is Ella and Johnny. Ella is a 29-year-old woman from Idaho Falls, Idaho. She is a 4th generation rancher, and girl, I love a cowgirl. Ella has had a rocky beginning because she's always struggled with her weight. Her classmates have always made her feel really terrible about it. And there have been times in her life where she's entered in relationships with men who have treated her poorly due to her weight and due to her low self-esteem. Because of all of this, Ella loves to escape into a fantasy world. Her fantasy world is purple, so is mine. She also loves dragons and she loves anime, and I could see that. I'm not against her because I would not paint my outside of my house purple, but I would paint a room. I like purple things, so I'm not trying to, I like her. She also has a super pretty face. Like, Ella's beautiful. But here's the thing about Ella that makes me cringe. She has got an Asian fetish. Does a lot of cosplay. She has a mannequin in the backyard in which she takes a knife to and like fights with. And I'm just like, It doesn't seem healthy. She went on a website, Asian men, white women to find love, and she met Johnny, and she loves everything about him. His eyes are perfect, and his smile is perfect. And it is cringy, cringe. So she's having a conversation with her mother, and her mother says, how do you know this will be different than the Indian guy you dated? Side note, she ended up going to Thailand after meeting a guy online from India, and once they got there, he didn't want to touch her physically at all, and she thinks that it was because of her weight, and she was sorely disappointed. So her mother says, how do you know that won't be the same situation? She says Johnny's so different that he's gonna cook for her, he's gonna help her on her weight loss journey because, you know, he eats a lot of vegetables and whatnot, and it's healthy food. Johnny loves everything American, apparently. And so they're a match made in heaven. Even though he's never been on a farm and he's never done any work on a ranch, he's confident that he'll be able to go there and do that work. And I'm like, I am not confident in this because there's a lot of work and it smells. The whole thing smells. Next scene we have is Ella going to lunch with her roommate and one of her best friends. And they're having a conversation about Johnny and his intentions and how she knows it's real. And she tells us that she has a lot of sexy time with Johnny, her playing with her beautiful boobie and him doing other things and her looking at his face while he does those things. And while he does those things, and okay. And her best friend is really shocked by the fact that she owns vibrators, which I said, is this woman your best friend? Also, this best friend is married to a Thai man. And the soundbite, you didn't even like Asians. That's my thing. And all I could do was replace that word with black. And I was cringy, cringe. You don't even like blacks. I'm the one who likes them. Now I know what she meant, but it's still, both of her friends are kind of shocked about her behavior and the things surrounding Johnny, but they all hope the best for her. The next couple and the last couple that we are going to talk about is Memphis and Hamza. Memphis is in a layover in Paris. Find out that her and Hamza have only been talking for 8 months. Now, maybe we knew this prior to, but like, girl, I didn't. And now I'm thinking the situation is even more dumb than what I originally thought, because she's like, I'm looking for somebody to be with me and love me and take care of me and my family. And we also find out that she has low self-esteem, which this whole cocktail is like bananas, okay? Bananas. So then we meet Hamza, who's kickboxing with his friend, and he talks about how he likes plump girls. He doesn't like boring girls because otherwise, if he did, he would just be with somebody from his country, his poor country, as he likes to let us know. And he says that there will be people in his culture who judge Memphis because she shows too much skin and because she sleeps with different men, and therefore that makes her a slut. And he's just like, listen, I'm not about that boring life, okay? And we end up finding out it's because, or at least partly because, his mother and his father are divorced. They got divorced when he was 10 years old. And we don't find out the circumstances around it, but that is a huge deal. It is a huge deal. And it is so, I just wonder what the circumstances were, because normally they wouldn't allow people to divorce. I'm wondering how it is they survive, because they have a better apartment than Zayed and his family, and his parents are married. So he was telling us how his mother isn't valued in their country, and it's hard for her to find work because once they find out that she's divorced, she's not given the job. And I'm like, it's completely foreign to me that a woman's worth is directly tied to her husband. And if she is divorced, then she's almost like a social pariah, which makes me love his mother for her bravery. She has completely fallen into taking care of her son. He isn't even allowed to help her with certain things. And he says, you know, God bless my mother. So he's told Memphis that they're allowed to sleep in the same room. Mother says no, not until they get married. And so they're just kind of talking about Memphis, and mother just wants the best for Hamza. She's not worried the fact that, you know, Memphis is a foreigner, but she just wants her, I guess, to be respectful and to love her son and take care of her son the way that she would. And I don't know if that's something that Memphis can do, because she's a busy lady. She needs a man who can make his own bed and make his own breakfast, as do we all. There is a little bit of hey, I've got this opportunity to go to America and I want to do better for my family while in America because Tunisia sucks and we haven't been able to find work. Which, to me, at least he's up and honest about it. I would rather know that that is his intentions. The same thing with Ximena. It's an opportunity, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that personally. I mean, the foreigner has to know that there's always going to be a little bit of that involved. They have to know, and if they don't know, they're foolish. So we have their first meeting and it's really loving. They hug each other. He thinks she's beautiful. He's like holding on to that wig girl. I've never felt a woman's hair, but I didn't know it'd feel like this. And I was like, take your hands off her hair. And so we realize that he's never been to the airport because he doesn't know how to get out. And I see a sign that says sortie, which after being in Quebec, I know that means exit. And she's like, you don't know how to get out of the airport? You've never been here? And he's like, oh no, it's okay, I don't, oh my God, we don't speak the same language, so this is gonna be hard. Now she's starting to realize that like, because they normally speak to each other through technology, if they don't have their phones out, then they're not gonna be able to communicate. So producers ask him how he feels, and he says, no problem, it's fine. And I think she's expecting him to be like, oh, I love her, she's great. But I don't know if he really understood the question. I mean, it was translated to him, but it's fine, no problem, she's fine. And I'm like, oh, that's not what you want to hear. His mother is even the one who gives him flowers in order to present to her at the airport. So, I mean, listen, if this were the family Chantel, Miss Karen would have something to say about that. That mother had put her son on a dating website to meet American women to harvest the American dollar. Alright you guys, so that is the end of this recap. If you liked it, if you got a little tee-hee-hee out of it, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Share on any social media platform that you deem fit. Help your girl get into the algorithm. Watch all of the commercials. Interact with them if you want to. And if you're feeling really fresh, you can look down below in the description box and drop a little tip in the tip jar. You guys have a fantastic week, and I hope you had a wonderful holiday, and I hope you have a happy new year. Alright? Remember to be you, be true, and find your place. Bye.